Hello again, guys and ghouls. The October Horror-thon is in full swing now, so it only makes sense that I'm going to go back and revisit a franchise that I featured in the last two October Horror-thons. In 2021, I reviewed The Evil Dead. 2022, I gave you a review of Evil Dead Part 2, Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn. Now this time around, of course, I have to finish the trilogy with Army of Darkness. Now this, in my hands here, is the Boomstick edition. 2-disc set. I get, ooh, there's some bonus stuff in here. I get 2 discs. One has the theatrical version and one has the director's cut. And they both have different endings. Now, I chose to go with the theatrical version for my review, and I haven't actually watched the director's cut yet. I'll get around to that eventually. And also I noticed that it came with like this little booklet here. It says Join the Army by Bruce Campbell. It's like 6 pages, you know, but it's about the making of the movie. It's about the, I guess, to give you more flavor for the movie itself. It's got like quotes from a pathologist in there for some reason. And, you know, maybe some lines from Bruce Campbell himself. That's kind of cool. Then I get a little flyer ad here for the Evil Dead video game. I've never played an Evil Dead video game. I think maybe I should check it out. Anyway, Army of Darkness. Well, do you remember the end of Evil Dead 2? Through the magic of the Necronomicon, Ash and his car get transported into the past. Suddenly he's surrounded by like medieval knights and stuff like that, and he's got the shotgun and he's got the chainsaw hand, and he blows away a deadite, and that's the end of that movie. Well, this movie picks up right where that left off. Actually, it starts with Ash working at the S-Mart, and he's recounting the tale. So our actual movie begins with Ash back in the Middle Ages. He gets captured by these knights. Even though he just saved them all from the rampaging deadite flying through the air, and he gets taken prisoner and taken to this castle, and they're going to throw him in this pit and execute him. The pit, you know, it's kind of like the Sarlacc pit or whatever. It's like, ooh, the pit of doom. Ooh, it's supposed to scare the crap out of us. It's full of like deadites. I guess they have them captured down there somehow. And we see one guy get fed into the pit, and there's like this big gushing like fountain of red blood coming out of the thing, and it's kind of comic booky and ridiculous, just like I would expect from a Sam Raimi movie. Before I go any further, I gotta say that this isn't really a horror movie. I mean, I guess you could call it a horror comedy, because it has a whole lot of horror elements in there, and some gore, and skeletons, and ghosts, and demons, and stuff, but this is a comedy, if you ask me. It's a comedy with horror elements. But it's also a sequel to some of the freakiest horror movies ever made. Army of Darkness is the weird one, the funny one. This movie had me laughing my ass off from like minute 1 all the way to the very end. I mean, Sam Raimi does his very best here, if you ask me, but not everything is perfect. And not all the jokes land every single time, but it's just the goofiness of it and the extreme nature of like the gore and the dialogue. It just makes this a winning comedy classic. Probably one of the best horror comedy movies I think I've ever seen. Army of Darkness, of course, features Bruce Campbell. Bruce Campbell is Ash. So yeah, okay, so Ash gets taken into this castle and they want to throw him in the pit. So they do, and he fights his way out of the pit, and he has to fight a couple of deadites and body parts flying out of the pit, and it's full of like comedic, stupid gore comedy moments, and oh, that's part of the charm of this movie. So eventually they get Ash out of the pit, and he gets his like gun back too, his boomstick. You know, he kills another deadite when he's out of the pit, and then they're all like, oh my god, he really is a hero, oh, we love him, and he becomes a hero, and like the I don't know, princess or damsel or lady in waiting or whatever the hell she is, comes in and she's like, I made this cloak for you, and he treats her like a jerk, and because he is a jerk. Ash is a jerk, right? He like slaps him in the face and goes to leave, and he just runs up and he grabs her, and he demands a kiss, and he's like, "Give me some sugar, baby." As stupid as that is, that's iconic, don't you think? So yeah, and then another Deadite attacks at the castle and sets Ash off on this quest to go find the Necronomicon because it's been captured again. He has to go find the Necronomicon not only to save the people of this kingdom, but also to get himself home, back to Earth, or back to the present 1990s, I guess. So yeah, they get him all suited up for battle, and instead of, like, he's still missing a hand, so they make him this like metal hand, and it's like there's a whole montage of them putting that together, and that's kind of goofy and totally parodying like action movies and stuff. So there you go, there's Act 1. Ash goes to the past. They originally think he's an enemy, but he turns out to be a hero, and he's given a quest. Ta-da! In the beginning of Act 2, he's given the magic words that he has to say to properly deal with the Necronomicon when he does find it. Klaatu Verata Nikto. Yeah, I got it. And he knows it, and he's all cocky about it, and he's tired of people telling him what to do, and he just wants to go home, and now he's forced to go on this quest and whatever. Anyway, he's chased in the woods by, that Sam Raimi tracking shot, like, in the Evil Dead 1 and 2, that chases him through the woods. And then he gets chased into this old mill, and he gets, like, possessed somehow by his, some kind of Deadite who's, like, his evil reflection, mirror with his reflection, and it breaks, and then those reflections in the mirror all turn into tiny little evil ashes, and they attack him, and they bring him down, and they make him do a bunch of stupid falls, and it gets pretty ridiculous at that point, and then one of them actually jumps down his throat, and Ash gets like possessed, or he has like this evil little Ash inside him, which grows inside him, and at one point you get there's an eyeball growing out of his shoulder, which is really freaky looking, and but then eventually the eyeball grows into an extra head that grows out of his shoulder, and then he splits into two, and you got Evil Ash and regular Ash, and Evil Ash seems to be getting the upper hand, but of course, good-ish Ash kills him and buries him. And you get another iconic Evil Dead shot where he takes the cross and he puts it in the ground, and the lightning strike behind him, and hey, you can't tell me this shit ain't epic. Then he has to go find the Necronomicon, and he finds there's actually 3 books. And he, I guess, tries all 3 of them, or at least the first one. He's like, whoa, no, that's not it, because it tries, like, sucking him into another dimension, and he comes out and his face is all stretched and everything. It gets very cartoony at this point. Then there's another one, he opens it up, and, like, skeleton hands and shit poke him in the face and poke him in the eyes, and it's Three Stooges all over again. Then he finds the right book, and he knows he has to say the magic words, but he fucks it up, and he says the Klaatu Verata Nikon or something, and he says the words wrong, and he doesn't know it, but he grabs the Necronomicon, and he takes the book, and he gets the hell out of there and goes back to the kingdom so that they can figure out a way to get him home using the book. But little does he know that, the army of the dead has awakened. Evil Ash is awakened as well, and goes on to be the leader of the army of darkness. Coincidentally, he's also played by Bruce Campbell. I mean, he's got a whole bunch of makeup and prosthetics on and whatever. Ash gets back to the castle, and he's negotiating a way to get home. Turns out that they think he's just being selfish, because now the army of the dead is after the castle, and they're going to come and invade, and he just wants to get the hell out of there, and he doesn't care what happens to these people. It's like, it's not his fault he was there. So, like most movies, and especially comedy movies, the end of Act 2 is like everybody hates on the protagonist, and even the princess, damsel in distress or whatever that he was kissing before, she gets captured by one of the Deadite minions. A winged Deadite comes and steals her and takes her back to Evil Ash. And there you go, that's the end of Act 2. And in Act 3, Evil Ash somehow corrupts Sheila. Her name is Sheila, by the way. And she becomes Evil Sheila. And evil Ash wants his revenge, and he wants to get the Necronomicon back. And so he summons up his army of the dead, the Army of Darkness. And let me tell you, they are fucking hilarious. Because half of them are puppets, plastic rubber skeletons, and somebody's like jerking them around, making them look like they're walking and stuff. And then you get also people in like prosthetics that are supposed to be like half rotted away corpses, like zombies or whatever. And you can clearly tell, especially in the wide shots, that, you know, all the guys in the background are all like people, extras in suits, and all the guys in the foreground are all the puppet skeletons. Like, the special effects aren't amazing in here, but they're convincing and they're funny and they're cool enough to be the Army of Darkness. And they come and they invade the castle. Ash gives like this rallying speech, and anyway, he gets everybody all riled up, and they're gonna defend the castle, right? So you get like a legit castle siege, just like you had in Helm's Deep in the Two Towers. I mean, you know, it's a little sillier, it's a lot shorter, and quite a bit faker, but it's pretty exciting, just like that. At one point, Ash actually fires up the Oldsmobile, or at least I think it's an Oldsmobile. You know, Sam Raimi's iconic car, the one that came through the portal with him. And they like A-team the shit out of that thing. They make it into this big like siege vehicle battle weapon. Yeah, and then Ash has to fight evil Sheila. And he's like, lady, you got real ugly. Basically, you know, the end of the movie is like they have to use the book and fight over the book. Ash fights evil Ash and has to, you know, say the magic words, Klaatu Varada Nikto, just like from The Day the Earth Stood Still. That's where that's from. Army of the Dead is destroyed and Sheila is no longer possessed. And then he returns back to his job at S-Mart. Yeah, well, I mean, at least in the version that I saw. I only watched the theatrical version, like I said. Apparently, the director's cut is quite a bit different. I think there's something to do with, like, there's a post-apocalyptic ending that's, like, far in the future or something like that. And I'll have to check that out. And, yeah, I'll let you know if I see that. And so, in this theatrical version, I mean, like, Ash has to, at the very end, has to fight off a modern-day Deadite in his store that he works at. There's a lady that's flipping out and she's like killing people in the grocery store, and he's like, lady, I'm afraid I'm gonna have to ask you to leave the store. And then he starts blasting the shotgun and hail the king, baby, and he kisses like the other cashier or whatever. Yeah, I laughed my ass off through this whole movie. I hope I didn't spoil anything by telling you basically the whole movie. I have a tendency to do that. There's so many cool, funny moments in this movie. I couldn't possibly tell you all of them anyway and ruin all the jokes. And some of it gets really goofy and really lowbrow and stupid, but that makes it even funnier if you ask me. Overall, I'd have to give The Army of Darkness an A. It's kind of my least favorite of the trilogy. But yeah, it's not a horror movie, but it's a horror comedy. And it is hella funny. Yeah, Army of Darkness definitely gets an A. Groovy. So until the next Horrorthon entry, stay safe out there, and have a good one, everybody.